Pozorski, and this is LIS 2850, and today's theme of my 15-minute presentation is emergency readiness, and that should say in the library. You understand, we are in library school, so let's get this thing started. It's important to, in a library environment, to keep the collection safe, but it's more important to keep the people that are in the building safe. So if an emergency occurs, first thing to worry about is getting everybody out of the building. Evacuate, make sure you know your fire exits, make sure you know where you're supposed to stand, and try to get out as quickly as possible and safely as possible. Very important. There are various emergencies, depending on where you live, obviously. Some have greater opportunity than others. The two biggest to be concerned about with books, of course, is water damage and fire. And of course, the downside of fire is the way they put fire out. They don't asphyxiate or suffocate a fire, which would be nice if they could lower a giant plastic dome and let it burn itself out, but they don't do that. What do? They use water. And they use tons of water. Take from a guy who burnt the roof off his house in 2002. They use water. And they use a lot. It's amazing. You don't know and don't understand the amount of damage water can do until everything you own is soaked. And then you wander around in it for, trying to figure out how to wring it all out. So that's the important thing here. There are earthquakes, there are tornadoes, and these things are all dangerous and scary. But once again, the ones we're concerned with is water damage. So what do we do about water damage? And how can water damage occur? I'll check my notes real quick. So we've got a couple options as far as water damage goes. And there can be flooding, obviously. Too much water main breaks, water fills the building. The sprinklers go off accidentally, which would be very bad. Most buildings, public buildings, have sprinkler systems now. So that can be a real issue. And then, of course, torrential rains, where there's so much water, roof starts leaking. We've all, at one point or another, I'm sure, been in a building where it rains so much, roof starts coming through the ceilings, and that's really dangerous if you're running something. If you're in charge of a building and you've got water coming through the ceiling like a sieve, it's embarrassing. I've had it happen. I've ran schools throughout the United States, and what happens is that I've been in buildings where it's rained so bad, you're running around trying to put buckets underneath leaks and teaching in between the leaks. Get a chance to try it. It's kind of fun, but it's fun for about 2 minutes before the students start getting irate. But it does happen. So, and by the way, in a pinch, trash cans are perfect. You don't worry about looking for a bucket. Grab the nearest trash can, stick it under the leak, and move forward. We're getting ready to talk more about that in a second. Let's check the notes. So let's assume water damage has occurred. Whether there's, let's work off torrential rains. Heavy rains, and I guess we got El Nino coming in, so something we got to look out for. Heavy rains come in, and the roof gives way, and it's enough to start soaking the collection. So what do? Well, in that situation, do we need to evacuate the building? If there are just leaks coming through and it's dripping on the books, I don't know, people's lives are in danger. If the roof starts to sag and collapse, let's get the people out of the building. But let's work under the scenario that there's been enough rain where you've been gone overnight, you come in the morning, and the rain's still coming through the ceiling, but part of the ceiling's collapsed and you've got wet books. So we have different degrees of wet books, and we're getting ready to talk about that. So the first thing you got to do, first thing you want to do, and by the way, don't forget to check your handouts. Everybody's got a handout. I use front and back, so I'm trying to save the environment. So what we've got is that first thing we want to do is lower the temperature. Several reasons why we're doing this, but we want to decrease and get the relative humidity down below 50%. 40, 30% is great. And the other thing we want to do is we want to lower the temperature in the building to at least get it down to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius. So we want to get it down to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And why do we want to do this? Mildew. Mildew will wipe out collections very rapidly. So what we want to do is we want to prevent that. And the way you do it is you decrease temperature. Mildew and bacteria love heat, so we need to get the heat out of there. And then So we lower the temperature in the building, and we want to go ahead and try to get the relative humidity down. And we want to do that by circulating the air. So if you've got the AC on, the AC is pumping, and you're getting it down, make sure that even after the AC goes off, you keep the fans on. You keep the fan on or you turn it on to manual, and you blow out and keep the air circulating. If you keep the air circulating, it's going to decrease the humidity. If you don't, what happens is that water starts to evaporate and basically goes up to the ceiling. You can't see it, but it's creating a giant cloud, and this is what you're trying to avoid. So we want to keep it circulated, get it lower, because that's going to help get the air drier. The drier the air is, quicker the book's dry. Makes total sense. You're a lot drier in the desert than you are Tennessee. It's really wet there, lots of humidity. So, big difference. So we've gotten that down. What we want to do now is we want to move the collection around. We want to try to get control over it. We want to take the books that are currently being dripped on. Let's assume the water's still coming to the ceiling. We want to get those books, get them out from underneath the areas that are being dripped upon. We want to take them from over here, where the rain's coming in, and we want to put them over there where it's dry. Okay? Especially if they're already wet. So if they're wet, what we can do is we can lay down, if you've got nice plastic, or whatever this stuff's made out of, then you can just set it down and get it out of the way, and we'll deal with it later. At least it's in a dry spot, and you need to move the collection to where it needs to be. Get it out from underneath the rain. I know a lot of this is common sense, but in an emergency situation, you don't have time to think. You need to respond. That's why it's emergency readiness. Okay? So we move that. We get those out of the way. Very important. So once those are out of the way, we start to look at the rest of the collection. And that's if there's a dry spot. If the whole thing's wet, there's no point moving anything. And we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going back over here. So we've moved our collection around. We've gotten it into a drier area, which is very important. Sorry. And that's step one. And then step two is now that it's dry, or we've got it in a dry place, first thing we're going to do is talk about drawing individual pages. So, got pages, let's assume they're soggy. And what we're going to do is, first we want to air dry these, and what you do is you lay out some paper towels, which I don't have any paper towels, but we're just going to pretend this is a piece of paper towels. I'll show you why in a minute, just going to use them again. So, what you'll do is you'll lay out paper towels or terry cloth towels. You'll just lay them out. And then you're going to take the pages and just lay the pages on top of them. Once again, seems like common sense, but in a pinch, you don't want to have to think about this. You can think back and go, oh, what Paul tell me? So, there you go. So we lay them out. We air dry by laying flat on plain paper towels or regular towels, and then when either becomes wet, swap them out. So once you lay these individual pages out, once the paper towels and regular towel underneath it gets soggy, throw them out, get some more, lay them down, lay the paper on top of those until eventually the paper dries. What you're going to find is that if you're using paper towels, use paper towels without a print on them. You know, sometimes they have the designs, puppies and cats and stuff. Don't use those because you're going to wind up taking that ink and transferring it to the paper you're trying to save. So then you wind up watermarking it, and no pun intended, and ruining it. So you're really defeating the purpose. So that's step one. That's take care of the dry, or take care of the individual pages. Okay. Then let's see, where are we off to from here? Decrease room temperature. I talked about that. Now we're going to talk about drying books. Books can be wet at different levels. This is a hard copy. Oh, it's got a CD in it. And what happens is with these books, if the covers are so soaked that they're ruined, and they look like, and they're going to warp, what we want to do is there's different ways to handle it. And so what's going to happen is you'll take it, and let's say this is totally soaked. I mean, the cover's getting ready to tear off. You're going to take it, you're going to take a piece of paper towel, you're going to put one here between the first page and the cover, and you're going to put the other one in the back between the same, and you're going to put that here, and then you're going to close it up. And then you're going to stand it up, and then you're going to place something between the two so it can stand and have it dry that way. You'll have paper towels under it as well. Okay? This will help save the cover, and it will also help with paper towels under it to pull the moisture out of the book. Okay? So that's that one. The next stage is, I'm sorry, once you get the book to that point, then if the book's wet, the pages are wet, but the cover's okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to come in and every 20 pages or so, you're going to put a paper towel in it. Put a paper towel there, you put one there, and you go through the whole book every 20 pages, and then you're going to lay it flat on a paper towel or a towel. And that will help pull the moisture out of the pages. And then you'll pull the paper towels out as you go. You'll replace them until the book is just damp. And here's how we're going to handle the damp. So when the book is damp, we stand it up and put a fan on it, and we open the pages. So we take it, we'd fan it open a little bit, and then I'd turn the fan on, which we happen to have one. I'd turn it on and blow on it, okay? And that's going to dry the pages out. But we're going to do that standing up. This is all in your hand up. And then if the book, that's if it's damp. When the book is almost dry, we lay it flat, just flat on a paper towel, and then we put a paper towel on top of it, and then lay a book on top of it. If the cover's totally dry, you can just lay and put more weight on it. It doesn't have to be a book. You can use anything. Small rodents, whatever works, as long as they're relatively heavy. Okay? So where we're at with that is that's what we do with the damp one, or that's what we do when the book's almost dry. And what that does is by putting weight on it, it helps it hold its shape. So that's very important. This is interesting. When I was doing my research, you do not air dry glossy coated paper. So if you've got a book or you have individual pages that are glossy, I'm assuming photographs, or vellum. We're familiar with vellum. It's sheepskin. What you do is you don't dry it, you put it in the freezer. You have to take that to a professional to have them dry it. Because especially with the vellum's really, what vellum is its skin. It is sheepskin. So you don't want to take a chance trying to dry that out. Give that to a professional. That's what they get paid to do. And if you have vellum, you get something expensive, and you're not going to want to mess with it. So, what have we learned so far? If you were here with me, I would walk you through these steps and say, okay, show me how to treat a damp book. Show me how to treat a book that the cover's totally soaked. Show me how to treat a book that is almost dry. I would have you walk through each of those, and I'd come around and check you and go, okay, do this, check this, make sure that's right. So we would do it that way. But you're not here. I can't do anything about that. Let's see. Then the other thing, of course, is calling 911. Hopefully you've never had to call 911, but if you were here with me, we would run you through that as well. We just do fake 911 calls, and it's simple. You call, you keep calm, you tell them where you're located, you tell them what your emergency is, you tell them who you are, and that's it. It's very simple, but it's something you should practice. Just once, but just to do it so it's not totally unfamiliar to you if you ever have to. And hopefully you won't, but it's good to be able to do that, and I recommend practicing it. But practice at home, do whatever you got to do. So this is where we get to questions and answers. Is there anything that I've said that you need explained to you? Is there anything that you think, well, that's kind of weird, I wonder why that is? This would be your opportunity to ask me questions, and unfortunately, I'm not live, so we can't do that. But I really enjoyed doing the research on this, and it's helped me because there's some stuff I would have never thought of. Beyond that, I think we've got it. I appreciate your time and emergency readiness. And if you need anything else, or if you have any questions, my contact info is on the handout. Thank you. Goodbye.